I made my first million at 23. Not like $1 million in revenue, but in liquid cash. I've actually done a lot more than that in revenue. But the funny thing is, that was after 5.5 years of working towards that goal. And interestingly enough, I ended up making about 80% of that money in the year and a half between when I was 21 and 23 years old. So today, I'm going to share with you the lessons that I learned that helped me make that first million and a lot more since then. And by the way, I'm not here to flex on you. Obviously, I just want to share with you the lessons that would have helped me skip 4 years of mistakes. And I'm sharing this with you because I grew up so poor that I was truly uncertain if I was going to be able to make this kind of money. Also, this works no matter who you are. You don't have to be well connected. You don't have to come from a wealthy family. You can literally just decide to become successful. And that's what I'm sharing with you in this video. This is not just investment tips or which business to start. These are the lessons that have applied to everything that has made me however successful I am. The first lesson is that success is not about manifesting. It's not about having some incredible connection with a high-level person. It's not about buying a course. It's not even about going to school or even about learning, which I'll talk about those things throughout this video. But the only thing that actually matters is if you ended up taking action or not. It's like if you have the fastest car and the best navigation system and the best weather to drive in and the best people to go on a journey with, but if you don't get in the car and drive it, you won't get anywhere. The biggest advantage that I've had in life is that I'm willing to put in the work and try even when I don't know exactly what to do or how to do it. Without action, everything that you do is meaningless. So all of the goals that you set, all the meditation you do, all the journaling and the cold showers you take, all of the books you read or the courses you take, all of the discipline that you put in place to help you create success, it doesn't matter if you don't take action towards your goal. That's kind of the main underlying point. So none of these other lessons are going to make any sense or even matter if you can't get yourself to take action towards your goals. That being said, lesson number 2 is that it's always easier to bring money to you when you know why you want it. Obviously, you want money, but do you really know exactly why you want it? When you have an exact reason for wanting money and you know exactly what you're going to spend it on and how much you need exactly, it becomes a lot easier to make. Now for me, I'm able to make decisions off of logic most of the time. So when I realized that making $50,000 a year, working my job at Noodles & Company, I was literally never going to get rich. I realized that mathematically, I had to make some changes. Literally realizing that if I saved and put away half of my income, it would still take me 40 years to save only 1 million. There was no way around it. I had to make more money. On top of that, knowing that I have to retire my single mother, I have to be able to travel the world and go to events and live whatever kind of life I want to live at any given time, I realized that I had to make more money in general. I started looking at it and stacking all of these reasons as to why I needed to become more successful. So you can ask yourself, how much does your dream life cost? Speaking to my younger self, you probably don't know. How much is your dream car? How much is your dream house? Those vacations where you're flying first class or private. Life isn't all about those things, but when it comes to making money, if those are the type of things that you want, then breaking it down can help put all of it into perspective and help you take action when you realize someone out there is spending your entire annual salary on a single flight. Rich and successful people use a language that you can learn. Now, obviously, this is not an actually different language, but it's a way to communicate and think and process ideas that's completely different from most other people. When I was 17, I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which gives the example where his poor biological father, whenever he couldn't afford something, he would simply accept that he couldn't afford it, where his friend's rich father would always ask the question, how can I afford it? When you drop this broke mindset of just accepting when you can't afford to do and buy things, it forces you to think like the rich do. How can I create wealth and make the money to do the things that I want to do? When you think about situations and look at opportunities and consider ideas from the perspective of someone who's successful, then you approach everything differently. When you want something or you want to do something, instead of just making an excuse for why you can't have it or you can't do it, instead look for a way to get there. Rich people and wealthy people don't really worry about how much things are, because if they can't afford something right now, they'll figure out a way to make more money. Instead of just giving up control, they take it into their own hands. And by the way, part of this is just being educated on money itself. Do you know what money is? Do you understand taxes? Do you understand how investing actually works and how to estimate potential returns? And do you realize that making $1 million in a year is $19,000 a week or almost $3,000 a day? Do you know how much time you'd have to work at your current job to make $1 million? I was never taught this type of stuff in school, and I'm guessing that you weren't either. I never learned about money or how to be successful, so it's your job, if you want those things, to educate yourself on it. I think it'd be pretty difficult to be an electrician without knowing how electricity works, and in the same way, I think it's difficult to make money when you don't know how it works. Now, I think everyone knows that you need to pick one thing and get really good at it to make a lot of money, right? You can't be spread out too thin all over the place because then you never get good enough at one thing to make those outsized crazy returns. But I still believe that you have to be doing something that you enjoy to some extent. Otherwise, you're not going to stick with it long enough to get to the point where you're making millions of dollars. It has to fit who you are as a person. And that's why I think it's important to examine your options for businesses to run or jobs to get to find something that you actually do like. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't believe in this whole, you'll be completely passionate and your passion will carry you through every waking moment. But I do believe in finding something that you generally like overall. Back when I first got my real estate license in 2019 and I was brand new into the business, I hated everything about it. I hated making cold calls. I hated door knocking. I hated holding open houses. And the fact that I disliked it so much made it that much harder for me to be successful. I discovered that I really like online business. I like being able to grow and run my business from my laptop while I can travel, and I get to interact with people on my own terms. I think there's always downsides to every business and job and side hustle, but trying out a lot of things will help you find the things that you generally can put up with. Not everything is peachy all the time, but when you generally like what it is that you do, it's much easier to get through those harder days. And that's why I believe in testing a lot of things out the earlier you are in your journey. Do you like day trading or drop shipping or construction or whatever it is? I truly believe that you'll be most successful when you find something that you like, because then you can go really deep on it. Because in my experience, I've only had massive success in areas when I've been extremely focused on one thing at a time. When I stopped doing real estate and I only focused on drop shipping, something that I liked, I had huge success with it. And yes, it's still hard to ignore all the other opportunities while you focus on that one, especially before it starts paying off, because you'll always be questioning if you made the right decision, and you'll be thinking that other opportunities are better or easier or quicker, etc. But in reality, all of these businesses have flaws. You just can't see it until you're in the middle of it. Now, picking and going really deep on one thing helps you build up that skill, which brings us to the next lesson, which is understanding value. In one way or another, value is the work that you do that benefits someone else. So that means that the more skilled you are, the more work you get done per unit of time you put in. Basically, you're more efficient. And if you're not making the type of money that you want, then you're not skilled enough yet. After trying a lot of businesses, both online and in the real world, and making lots of money, I've found that the amount you're paid is almost never about what you're doing, but how well you do it. Now, obviously, it does matter to some extent what you're doing, because doing higher level activities will make you more money. But no matter if you're in sales or drop shipping or making YouTube videos, at the end of the day, what matters is how well you do it instead of what it is that you're doing. Especially because almost any business can get you to that $1 million mark. When I first got into the software business, I wasn't that good at it. I couldn't read or write any code. I didn't know what to look for in a developer. And I made a ton of mistakes when I was building up my first version of the Printify product uploader program, which I give away here on YouTube to people who want to do drop shipping. The point being that every time I start something new, I usually suck at it for a little while before getting good. Now, that doesn't mean that I suck as a person. It just means that I don't yet have the skills that I need. When you're bad at something, it's your skill level, not yourself. It doesn't mean that you need to go switch and do something else. You just need to build up your skills. The way that you get to that point and build up the skill is by first admitting that you're unskilled and then learning from it. Learning how to do one specific thing feels wrong when you're starting out, because there's so many opportunities around and it makes you feel like you're missing out on something. When I got started with Etsy dropshipping, I had the same worries that everyone has. I was afraid that it wouldn't work, that it was too competitive, or that the opportunity wasn't good enough. But the more that I focused in on it, on that one single thing, the more money I made over time. I decided that I would be the best Etsy dropshipper, and it ended up paying off many times over because I got super good at it over time. If I was starting over today I would dial in on what I've chosen to do and go super deep on that one thing and become the best in the field. I would be learning and applying as much as I possibly could. You really don't need to be up to date on the latest brain rot trends. You don't need to watch all the latest Netflix shows. You just need to lock in and pick one thing and do it really well. You're probably not making money when you spend time on social media, which means social media is taking money from you by wasting your time. You're probably just lying to yourself, telling yourself that you're keeping up to date on what's going on as an excuse to doom scroll an hour here and there. If I decided to try out several businesses all at once, I probably would have failed at all of them. But instead, picking one business was the best decision I made because it forced me to go all in and become great at it. Now, something that I always try to live by is to make memories worth remembering. Especially as someone who's pretty young, you get a lot of opportunities to live life and do a lot of fun things throughout your 20s, which is why it's so hard to sacrifice some of that time for things like building a business. At the end of the day, I believe that we're really just a sum of our memories, which is why I try and prioritize making great ones. Now, this is twofold because on one hand, you don't want to waste your life just slaving away for money, but on the other hand, money unlocks so many memories that you might not otherwise be able to live. Again, this millionaire life that everyone wants to live is really about experiences and being able to live on your own terms. To me, the story of building up a business is a great story and it makes for great memories. And it makes me a lot of money, which I can spend to make even more awesome memories. The reason I'm telling you this is because there are so many things in life that will distract you from living a life full of memories. You can't even remember the last reel or the last TikTok you watched, but you'll always remember taking your family on vacation. Money isn't that great itself. It just helps you create great memories. It's a tool that lets you do things that you couldn't do before. And that's why I think that making a lot of money and being able to use it in quality ways is such an important part of living a fulfilling life. Basically, the more you can cut out low quality distractions and focus on the important things, the happier and more fulfilled you'll be today and into the future. If you're not willing to risk the unusual, you'll have to settle for the ordinary. Making a lot of money, especially at a younger age, is pretty unordinary, but it comes at the price of risk. The only time I've ever found success is after I've taken a risk. It's been after I start the business or after I make an investment. I see a lot of people saying, I just need to quit my job or I just need to make $3,000 a month. But the problem with this mindset is that it's still based in needing some kind of security. You know, typically you can work for a week or two, knowing exactly what you're going to get paid. You'll collect your paycheck and be on your way. Normal life can be very predictable. This is one of the many challenges of stepping into the unknown and taking risks because, to be frank, you have no idea if it's going to pay off or not. That being said, risk is the bridge that you have to take if you want to reach any of the craziest goals that you might have. You have to put yourself out there and spend some money when it's uncomfortable and do things that you might not like. And maybe you're gonna feel like you're wasting your time. Risks are really anything with a non-guaranteed outcome, and that means that you'll look stupid and it will be a waste of time and you won't make any money until it works. The risks that hurt the most are the ones that take your time or money, and usually you're giving up one or the other or both. But my philosophy is the younger that you are, the less risky actual risk is because you have a lot more time to recover from it if things went really bad, which is why it can be smarter to take more risks the younger you are. Again, risk is one of the prices that a lot of people aren't willing to pay to reach their goals, and it's yet another reason why so few people actually do. Taking risks almost guarantees some kind of failure. And there's different types of failure. There's internal failure and external failure. Now, I think external failure is when you try something and it doesn't work out right away. But internal failure is when you give up on trying again. Failure is only fully realized when you're done trying and you completely give up. Back in 2020, after I had been trying to sell real estate for about 6 months, I made the decision to quit because it wasn't working out for me. So I failed at real estate because I ultimately gave up. But when I switched to doing something that I liked a lot more, which was an online business called dropshipping, I locked in. And even though I had a ton of little external failures along the way, I never gave up, and therefore I never fully failed. I just kept going, and that's what made me successful. Failure is yet another price that people aren't willing to pay to reach their goals. If you're serious about making it big and making millions of dollars, then you have to be able to put in the work and put in serious work. Still to this day, I follow the exact same discipline that got me to this point. I wake up at the exact same time, I have the exact same morning routine, and I get to work. The things I do might slightly change, but I follow the same discipline that got me there. Back when I was a teenager, I was the type of person who thought that I'd make it big, and then once I made it, I'd be able to just relax on a beach and work 4 hours a week. But the truth is that the more successful I've gotten, obviously the more fun I get to have when I do fun things, but I have to be even more careful with my time. Now there's a level of performance that I have to maintain. Every time I take one day off now, it costs me the same as it used to take 2 full weeks off. Every time I catch myself wasting time, I have to remember what it is I'm losing today and into the future. That's why I'm such a big believer in building your underlying discipline of working on yourself and your businesses every single day, working like you have to make money today, but still having the patience knowing that it might come in 5 years. When you work like you're struggling to pay your bills and you keep doing that for years on end, you're really unstoppable. You know, the people that even just get to my level, and I'm definitely not even near where I want to be, but they're going to have to work pretty hard to catch up and a lot harder to pass me. Hard work plus patience is the recipe that I've found for money and success. And by the way, when I came up with this video idea, I sort of wanted to talk to my younger self. So when I say you, that's who I'm talking to. I hope you found something of value in this video.